hosting this Fortress Europe event, I was unable to get to the Nazi event, but Younes got there and he shot some footage over there and saw what was going on. But before we get to that, I probably should explain to you who these Nazis are. So these people who were holding the demonstration were the Nordic Resistance Movement and the Finnish Resistance Movement, which is a part of that. And they are very openly a National Socialist group, and they were considered basically the dangerous ones among the nationalists or the right-wingers, because there was this assault I mentioned on a couple of my earlier videos in which a neo-Nazi kicked a guy in a Nazi demonstration and possibly caused him to die. The guy died a week later in a hospital, and it was said that he died of a skull fracture. So now everybody's talking about the violent neo-Nazis because of that one kick. And
in fact, I interviewed this suspect who kicked the person, and I might get his copy of the police report soon, and we might get the true version of that event. But I want to point out that National Socialism is a left-wing ideology and not a far-right or right-wing ideology as the mainstream media likes to claim.
Yeah.
But we are sometimes using the mainstream media's
lingo just to try to be clear so that it doesn't require that much explanation, and so that as many people as possible will understand what we are talking about, not just those who are already in the scene and know these things. But there was some altercation despite of the heavy police presence at the neo-Nazi event. Could you explain what happened in that?
Yes, so the neo-Nazis gathered at 3:30 p.m. and they held some speeches which I also missed, but they have been published on their webpage. They are in Finnish, of course, and at 4 p.m. they started to march towards Kaisaniemi from Hakaniemi, which are two places in Helsinki. And at one point the march stopped, and a little later they were shouting, and I could see a few riot policemen escort two people, and we can see that on one video.
Väki odottaa.
Mitähän tuossa tapahtuu? No, poliisi. Tää se on. Mä menen tästä välistä. Tuo on joku anarkisti, jota viedään. Tuossa ilmeisesti kärrätään jotain anarkistia. Moi!
äsken pysähtyi?
Se oli varmaan, että mellakkapoliisit vei 2 anarkistia. No, se on ilmeisesti, että ne poliisit vei 2 anarkistia pois.
Miksi vei?
No varmaan kun ne siksi tää pysähtyi, kun ne oli blokkaamassa.
No, on tää nyt söpö. Mitäs muuta tänään tehdään?
And when the first media reports of that fight came out, they claimed that the neo-Nazis had started fighting amongst themselves. But of course that sounds very just incredible, because these are pretty disciplined people and they have very strict rules regarding their marches. They don't allow, for example, smoking or alcohol or any sort of drugs to be used. So they are very disciplined, and it seems highly unlikely that they would start fighting amongst each other. And then it turned out that, of course, they weren't fighting amongst each other, but there was this one known anarchist, Jari Laine, who had actually infiltrated the Nazi march, and he had tried to find this Jesse Torniainen, the guy who kicked and possibly caused this guy to die earlier this fall, and he couldn't find this Torniainen. So he just smacked the closest Nazi next to him in the face. And of course the Nazis attacked him. And he got some kicks and punches, and apparently he got to throw some more punches too. But the cops intercepted very quickly and carried the 2 most violent people away, including this anarchist and this Swedish neo-Nazi. And for some reason they were put in the back of the same police car, of the same paddy wagon. And of course a fight broke out there too.
But the Nazi was handcuffed, unlike this anarchist. And it is weird that there were hundreds of policemen present, but they just let it happen. Even this attack, they could have neutralized it much faster, but the police is not doing its job here. They just let people attack one another and then react when they have waited for the fight to already happen, and then they put those 2 in the same car with one handcuffed and the other free. So the one that was not cuffed started to hit the other one. And I think I will make a complaint about the police, because it's not. I don't agree with neither of them, but still this could happen to any one of us, that you are walking in the street and someone attacks you, and then you are put in the same car as the attacker, which is it's not a mistake. They are doing it on purpose.
And it seemed pretty malicious from the part of the cops, and their explanations or excuses for those mistakes weren't credible at all, because the cops, first of all, they claimed that they didn't know these 2 men, this anarchist and this neo-Nazi, weren't a part of the same group, and they were guys fighting each other. Of course, you know, you shouldn't put these people in the same car, even if you, regardless of whether they're in the same group. If they are fighting, you don't put them in the same car. And when this neo-Nazi was being carried away by the riot police, he shouted something like "Sieg Heil," but in another language, but you could easily recognize that it was what he was shouting. And the anarchist was shouting some anti-Nazi slurs. So you could it was obvious that they aren't from the same group. One of them was an anti-fascist, another was a Nazi. And still the cops claimed that they didn't know that. And they also claim that they didn't have enough police cars, that they only had that one car, so it was necessary for them to put them in the same car. But as you can see from the footage shot by Junes, there are loads of paddy wagons over there. It's not just one car, it's tens of cars.
Yes, and the police have prepared this event for a long time. They have gathered intelligence. This anarchist had said himself on the internet that he will attack some Nazis. So if the police cannot cope with this simple shit, how are they going to fight the Islamic terrorists in our country? They are not credible. It's a big mistake, and it is, well, I cannot be 100% sure, but I think it's they did it on purpose. And if the police doesn't apply the law as it should be, it's not the police, it's political bullshit.
And our friend actually got a statement from this anarchist involved, and he also thought, this anarchist, that it was that cops did it willingly. They knew that these guys would fight. They placed them in the same car, completely knowing that there would be trouble. And this anarchist had actually resisted the cops, saying, "No, don't put me in the same car with him. I'm not going in the same car with that Nazi scum." But the cops had only said, "Okay, you're same scum anyway," and placed them in the car, which of course led to this anarchist beating up this handcuffed Nazi. And then the cops start making up excuses about not having enough cars and not knowing these guys were on different sides of this issue.
Yes, the anarchist actually claims that the police had said that you are both the same scum. So it's not a correct way to address these people. And one other point is that the police uses their blue lights to create an atmosphere that it's not a safe place. They could use normal lighting, but they choose to put blue lights instead, and this is all in purpose. It's clear that they have no reason to use their lights.
Yeah, it just creates this chaotic atmosphere. When you see these flashing police lights, you get this feeling that something bad is going on, and it's definitely not good for the safety to create that kind of atmosphere when there is a high risk of violence from the very beginning. So it seems completely insane that cops would throw fuel to the fire like that they would make it so much worse with their own bullshit. And was there something else about the neo-Nazi event?
When this was over, they continued their march a few hundred meters, and they gathered in a ring, and that's it. Of course, there were other anarchists or counter-demonstrators that tried to provoke them by shouting stupidities or coming with loudspeakers with music, but they didn't react to this provocation. And a few hundred meters away were the same anarchists that had left from the railway station, and they were having a party, but the police had separated the two areas so they did not meet. And the police presence was huge, but they did not do anything.
And it's funny how a lot of these nationalist demonstrators, they also always thank the cops for their cooperation after their demonstrations, even though the cops, they really aren't on our side. Some specific cops might be, but when it comes to actual cooperation, the cops can do the bare minimum when they really don't have to show any effort. But they've been blocking these nationalist demonstrations at every turn. They have even shut down nationalist demonstrations, like the one you were at in Helsinki, with no good reason at all.
Yes, on 9/11 I was playing music in a demonstration, and the police came and told me that I had to stop. But they did not react to the anarchists who were trying to disturb us. And I'm also filing a complaint about that event. But yes, the police is not on our side, they are on the side of the government. They are protecting their interest, as normal people know.